All right, let's talk about a brain teaser. This thing is so famously counterintuitive that it has stumped some of the smartest people on the planet and even kicked off a huge national debate. It's called the Monty Hall problem. And by the time we're done here, you're not only going to know the right answer, but you'll understand exactly why your brain probably wants to get it wrong.
So just imagine it for a second. You're on the stage, the lights are bright, you've made your pick. Door number 1. Then the host, that big game show smile, he opens door number 3 and shows you a goat. So now there are just 2 doors left. Yours, door number 1, and the other one, door number 2. And he looks at you and asks, do you want to switch? What do? I mean, does it even matter? Your gut probably says it's 50-50, right? So what's your move? Well, here's the answer that drives people absolutely bonkers. You should always switch. It is not 50-50. Switching, believe it or not, literally doubles your chances of winning the car. Now, if that feels completely and totally wrong to you, don't worry, you are in very good company. The real question here isn't just what's the answer, it's why does this simple little puzzle break so many of our brains? And look, this isn't just some fun little thought experiment. Back in 1990, when Parade magazine columnist Marilyn Vos Savant published the right answer, it caused an absolute intellectual firestorm. We're talking thousands of letters flooding in, and many of them were from academics, PhDs, telling her in no uncertain terms that she was dead wrong. And these letters, they weren't just polite corrections. They were, they were angry. People were so condescending, absolutely convinced that she'd made a simple, embarrassing mistake. They couldn't wrap their heads around the idea that the person with the world's highest IQ could be right and they could be wrong. The odds, they insisted, were obviously 50-50. I mean, you have to love the irony here. This writer, a PhD, is talking about a crisis in mathematical education while being completely wrong about the math himself. It just goes to show you how incredibly powerful our intuition can be. So powerful that it can make even very smart people blind to very simple logic. And this quote, this one just perfectly sums up the whole thing. It was supposed to be a defense of the common sense 50-50 answer, but it turned out that, yeah, all those PhDs were wrong. Which brings us to the big question. How? How did so many incredibly smart people get this so fundamentally wrong? Okay, so to really see why all those experts were mistaken, we have to do something that feels a little unnatural. We have to completely ignore our gut feeling and just look at the raw possibilities. Let's map this thing out. This table really makes it clear. Let's just say you pick door number 1 every single time. Now look at that first row. If the car is actually behind your door and you stick with it, you win. Great. That's 1 out of 3 possible ways this can go. But look at the next 2 rows. If the car is behind door 2, the host has to show you the goat behind door 3. In that case, switching wins you the car. Same thing if the car is behind door 3. The host has to show you the goat behind door 2. And again, switching wins you the car. So sticking wins 1/3 of the time, switching wins 2/3 of the time. The math doesn't lie. So what's the secret? What's the key piece of information our brains just want to ignore? It's this. The host's action is not random. He knows where the car is, he has to open a door with a goat. That single action gives you powerful new information. He's essentially taking the 2/3 probability that was spread across the 2 doors you didn't pick, and he's concentrating all of it onto that 1 remaining door. That's the whole game. Okay, so the math checks out, we've laid it all out, but that still doesn't get rid of that nagging feeling, does it? That voice in the back of your head that is still screaming, but it's 2 doors, it has to be 50-50. Well, that's not a math problem anymore. That's a psychology problem. So let's figure out why our intuition is so terrible at this. Well, it turns out the main culprit is a cognitive bias called the uniformity belief. It's a mental shortcut. Our brain sees 2 doors and it just instantly assumes the odds have to be split evenly between them. It's a shortcut that saves us a lot of mental energy in most situations, but here it leads us completely astray because we forget about the history of how we got to those 2 final doors. So this is the real conflict going on inside your head. Your gut wants to hit the reset button. It sees 2 doors and thinks, okay, new game, 50-50 shot. But the math never resets. Your first pick always had a 1 in 3 chance of being right. The host's action doesn't change that at all. What it does do is reveal where the other 2/3 probability went. It's all piled up behind that other door. And there are a few other psychological traps at play too. We suffer from the no news fallacy. where we think the host showing us a goat doesn't really tell us anything important. And then there's something called regret theory. Think about it. It would feel so much worse to switch doors and lose than it would to just stick with your first choice and lose, right? We hate the feeling of making the wrong move, so we prefer to do nothing, even if it's the statistically worse option. So really, this is about way more than a game show or goats in cars. The Monty Hall problem is a fantastic lesson in how our own minds work, and more importantly, how we can learn to think just a little bit better. At its heart, this is all about something called conditional probability. It sounds fancy, but it just means that the odds of something change when you get new information. You know, the chance of rain might be 20% in the morning, but if you look outside and see giant black clouds rolling in, you update those odds, right? The Monty Hall problem shows us how bad we are at doing that intuitively. We see the host open a door, but we fail to update our mental forecast. And if you still feel a little bit baffled by all this, you are in some of the best company imaginable. The legendary mathematician Paul Erdos, one of the most prolific mathematicians in history, when he first heard the answer, he flat out refused to believe it. He said, no, that is impossible. He was only convinced after he saw computer simulations run the numbers thousands of times. It just proves that for anyone, even a certified genius, intuition is a powerful and often misleading force. So the final thought to leave you with is this. The puzzle fools us because our brain mistakes new information for a whole new game. We think the board has been reset. But the host's reveal isn't a new game. It's a new clue in the same game you started. So the real question to ask yourself is, where else in life might your intuition be doing the exact same thing? In your job, your finances, your relationships. Where are you failing to update your odds and just sticking with your first choice, even when all the new evidence is screaming at you to switch?